To me, the concern I have and why I've started this talk the way I have is because I'm concerned about what you're gonna say. A lot of people don't know what to say. They're insecure. Why would somebody listen to me? And so what they start to do is fake it. They start to pretend they're an expert. They start to wear clothes that makes it look like they're successful. They fake it. It will never work. It will never work. What you're much better off doing is documenting your journey. You don't need to be an expert. You need to be honest. If you notice, sometimes I said it earlier, if I talk about the same stuff, and once in a while somebody will leave a comment, or even here will be like, Gary, you talk about the same shit. And I look at them like, do you want me to lie and make up shit? Of course I talk about the same shit because I've been running businesses for 20 plus years and it works. And when I look at other businesses that work, they're doing the same thing I'm doing. And then when I look at other things, I see businesses sometimes that work for a year and then collapse because it's what I've been talking to you about for the first 15 minutes, which is if you're gonna be built on shit, you're gonna sink. Judgment is very interesting to me. I've come to realize in the last 3 years that it is judgment that is stopping 90% of this audience. Especially when you go into different subcultures, it is scary to me how many of you are not doing things because you're worried about what your parents would think. You're worried about disappointing your parents. You're worried about the leverage your parents have. And that is unbelievably true in every culture, but obviously quite true in this culture. Judgment is the number one thing that I need to break you out of for you to even begin to make content on social networks. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be right. You need to stay in your lane. You need to talk about what you know. You need to talk about what you're passionate about. You gotta talk about either what you like or what you know. But you can't worry about the comments. Are you really gonna live your life based on somebody anonymous saying that you're ugly or not smart? Yet, almost everybody does. The amount of people that refuse to post or stopped posting because of a negative comment is remarkable, or because of a snarky comment by their brother or best friend or girlfriend. It's remarkable to me how grateful I am, how thankful I am that I was parented in a way that built self-esteem, confidence. And I'm grateful and also sad by how many aren't. And the only way I know how to break it is to push positivity and optimism and practical positivity into the ecosystem. If you're sitting in this audience today and you're not happy, and I mean this, really ask yourself, are you happy? It's really been interesting to me to find something that works, which is you have to change who you're listening to. If you're sitting in this audience today and you're not happy, you have to change who you're listening to. It's scary to me that 85% of the people that are here today are here for one reason. They're looking for something because most likely a parent put them in a position that hasn't allowed them to feel fully comfortable. And so what has gotten me more motivated than ever around this subject matter is this, and I'm gonna keep going back to it. I would not be giving this keynote 20 years ago because living a life around putting out content on a platform that could reach so many people wasn't real. When the internet wasn't here, it was harder to do what you love. It was harder to be practical. You couldn't work your day job and then start a whole nother big career after because it was late at night and the internet didn't exist, so there was no scale. What, we're gonna open a store that was only open from 9 p.m. to midnight? It wasn't practical. It is now. This is I wish everybody here understood, including me, how lucky we are to be living in a world where the internet is now a thing. Our grandparents didn't have these options. We must take advantage of this. And everybody thinks there's a right way. There is no right way. There's only your way. Some people are great at writing, others are not. Some people are comfortable in front of a camera, others are not. Some people are good at talking, others are not. The fact that you have the ability to control how you put out information based on what you're good at is remarkable. I don't want you to have a video blog if you're not comfortable in front of a camera. It's the reason I don't write. All my written content is Rogoff on my team taking the transcription of my audio. I can't write. I've written 5 New York Times best-selling books and I can't write. I'm serious. This is important. I have a top 100 podcast and I don't sit down and do a podcast. I strip the audio out of my vlog. Can we hear it for D-Rock? He's sitting on the ground. I deploy self-awareness and self-esteem to reverse engineer myself to put myself in a position to succeed. It is my great hope that I can inspire people to do the same. You want to get really happy? Stop judging people.
Oh, that's good.
You stop judging people, you stop judging yourself. And by the way, for everybody who's driving and you judge people, you don't know anything about them. You don't even know everything about your sister. How are you judging strangers? Like, judgment is poison and has led to so much darkness especially with social media. What has happened, people blame social media. Social media hasn't done anything except expose us. There's no social media. We're social media. They're empty platforms. We fill it. When you leave that nasty comment because you're jealous that girl's pretty and you're insecure about your looks, that's your darkness. That's not Instagram making you write it.
It's not Instagram's fault. It's video game's fault.
Bro, these platforms are empty. This notion that Facebook or Instagram or the Russians are controlling us is laughable. We need to change society. We need to put happiness on a pedestal, not money. If your friends have bachelors or are engaged or have moved into a new apartment, I think you should be happy for them.
Yeah, of course.
But it should stop there. To your point, and I can even tell by your energy, you are. But then what happens is, and then you look at yourself and you say, where am I?
Yeah.
It just doesn't mean anything. It's like, people have to realize, like, life is so long. It's like, just because we're at this point and you're not as in the same place as somebody else, there's little value to that comparison. Like, there's just little value. Like, I think so many people get upset about comparing themselves to others without realizing what those others are going through. The social web and these opportunities, and there are still 2 platforms right this second that require $0 for you to start communicating what you want to happen in the world, I think is remarkable. That doesn't even take into account the fact that Facebook ads, YouTube pre-rolls, this new Spotify ad product that is gonna have hosts read live reads like the old radio game for podcasts, Facebook, Twitter's appropriately priced, but everything else I just mentioned to you, the ads are underpriced. The cost of spending $1,000 on these platforms to get people to see something is underpriced. What is exciting for me right now is that this device, like the fact from this young man down and up, every one of us has a device in our hand that is a computer that is actually more powerful than the computer that Ronald Reagan had when he was running the free world. It really is interesting. It really is. I think, again, what I'm really trying to establish in this talk this morning is, I don't think people have quantified the opportunity. I struggle, regardless of circumstance, with people dwelling or complaining in a world where the internet is free, has no idea who you are, could care less, it's right there, and it becomes a game of skill, not necessarily finances, to actually win. It's interesting to me. It's interesting to me that you can be in the retail business overnight by setting up a Shopify account, which costs nothing, when that same action to sell something 30 years ago meant that you had to sign a lease and build out a store and rely on the local traffic that walked by. It scares me and excites me that the biggest music company in the world, Spotify, was built in Sweden by a kid. And on and on and on, and you've heard every story. But more importantly, for every ridiculous story we've seen of Instagram or Facebook or Uber or Spotify, there are hundreds of thousands of stories of people with wins that are micro versions.